What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So guys, I want us to watch and to listen to this powerful message from the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley. Mia Mottley, she has come out and called out those Jamaican puppet and corrupt leaders, and also she is sending a warning message to all leaders of Caribbean. So kindly guys, I want you to watch this and I'll be back with more comment. I'm your host, Jaden Reaction.
Barbados Prime Minister ban out Andrew Holiness off Jamaica.
The world has been unprepared. Financial crisis that started in 2008, which then triggered fiscal crises across many of the world's countries. And if that was not enough, a social crisis characterized by rising inequality, with the consequences thereto, be it substance abuse, mental health challenges, homelessness, or human trafficking. Then there was a global pandemic, lasting 2 to 3 years and taking the lives of millions of people. And for those surviving, they had restricted movement and restricted choices. All of this, my friends, has been exacerbated by the spreading of fake news. This distorts reality and threatens the stability of our societies, creating a platform for hate to thrive and prejudice to rise. But deeper than all of these crises is a bigger, more insidious crisis that is undermining our domestic and global institutions that have promoted order, peace, and prosperity. It is, my friends, the crisis of truth. Excellencies, when we lose shared truth, our communities, our countries, our global society loses their center of gravity. At first, the damage may seem quiet. Words bend and facts drift in the service of political point scoring. But slowly, over time, we descend into political tribalism. We develop alternative realities and we are unable to understand each other and communicate with each other because we lack a center. Then we grow suspicious of each other. In the absence of truth, trust deteriorates. And we see it all around us, in global forums, and indeed on the blocks and in the communities in our own countries. Trust between neighbors, trust between the governed and the governing, trust in our instructions, trust in our social order, trust in our health systems, trust in our global rules, governance structures. It all seems, in the words of Chinua Achebe, to be falling apart. When we lack truth and we lack trust, law becomes theater, news becomes spectacle, and science becomes just another opinion. As I've had cause to say in this great hall on a few times, our world today worryingly resembles the world of 100 years ago. And this has become even more evident with the closing of our borders to both goods and to people. This has magnified the geopolitical tensions which had already taken root. Disturbingly, war regrettably has only entered the daily lexicon of the West, not when thousands were dying on the continent of Africa or in Myanmar, but when war came to Europe. Nevertheless, we still call for peace in the Ukraine. Only yesterday, a leading British newspaper reminded us that for 500 days, 260,000 people, virtually the population of my country, 260,000 people have been trapped in the Sudanese city of El Fasher. The article reported that while political progress stalls, those who attempt to escape are killed, and those who remain inside are starved. The world must not ignore the horror in Sudan. But of course, I don't need to remind you that it must not ignore the horror in Gaza. The genocidal destruction taking place in both places must now have our full attention. And how many more pictures of people must we see on these screens without being able to move? Or are we so blinded and hardened that we can no longer appreciate the cries of humanity? I have been saying to Barbadians for many years that many hands make light work. Today, we need the correct mix of voices, ambition, and action. Do some leaders in this world believe that they can survive and thrive on their own? Have they not learned from the pandemic? Can there be peace and prosperity if 1/3 of the world literally prospers and the other 2/3 of the world live under siege and face calamitous threats to our well-being? What the world needs now, my friends, is that which is within the ambit of less than 200 persons who are willing and prepared to lead. Leaders must not fail those who elect them to lead. And I say to you, there is a sword that can cut down this Gordian knot, and it has been wielded before. The central banks of the wealthiest countries engaged in $25 trillion of quantitative easing in the last 13 years. 25 trillion. Of that, 9 trillion was in the last 18 months to fight the pandemic. Had we used that 25 trillion to purchase bonds, to finance the energy transition, or the transition of how we eat, or how we move ourselves in transport, we would now today be reaching that 1.5 degrees limit that is so vital to us. I say to you today in Glasgow that an annual increase in the SDRs of $500 billion a year for 20 years, put in a trust to finance the transition, is the real gap, Secretary General, that we need to close, not the 50 billion being proposed for adaptation. And if 500 billion sounds big to you, guess what? It is just 2% of the 25 trillion. This is the sword we need to wield. Our excitement 1 hour into this event is far less than it was 6 months ago leading up to this event. Can we, with those voices and these speeches from Sir David and others, find it within ourselves to get the resolve to bring Glasgow back on track? Or do we leave today believing that it was a failure before it starts? Our world, my friends, stands at a fork in the...
Shout out to the Barbados Prime Minister, Mia Mottley. She seems to be the only Prime Minister in the Caribbean that is speaking out about these extrajudicial killings that are occurring in the Caribbean waters. You get what I'm saying? The rest of the Prime Ministers that are in the Caribbean and all these other islands were just sitting by and not saying anything about these killings that the United States is carrying out in the Caribbean waters. Let me tell you something. You're making a grave mistake. A big, big mistake. You dig? When you sit back and allow Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth to kill at will, and they did say that. They said they're going to kill whosoever they suspect to be trafficking drugs or narcotics. Okay, they said that. Trump said that, and Hegseth said that. So they're going to kill any suspected trafficker of drugs or whatever. Okay? They're suspect to be a cartel. That is extrajudicial killing. It is illegal. You don't have to be a Harvard grad or a law student to know that. You could do basic reading on Google and you know it's illegal. The only prime minister that I see speaking out in the Caribbean about these illegal activities is the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley. What happened to the rest of the prime ministers? Are you afraid of America? You're afraid of Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth? What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? Are you going to sit back and watch them disrupt your entire tourist industry, your fishing industry, livelihood of the fishermen, and say nothing and do nothing? Is that what you're going to do? Because you're so scared of the big bad USA. Well, thank God we got prime ministers like Mia Mottley from Barbados. Thank God we have those people who are educated, sensible, and speak out against this injustice and this bullshit that they're doing. People with a brain know it's bullshit. But a lot of you prime ministers in the Caribbean leaning back and you're scared. That's what it is. You're scared to say this is illegal, this extraditional. I heard there are bodies washing up on the shore, the seashore in Trinidad and Tobago that blew up boats that the U.S. blew up. If you search the internet, you'll see some of those images and all types of shit. Okay, Trinidad is just 6 nautical miles. I think it's 6 miles or something that from Venezuela. You understand what I'm saying? So, yeah, they're seeing things wash up in the shore in Trinidad and Tobago. That shit is illegal. It is illegal to just be killing anybody underwater and you can't bring to justice. It's extrajudicial killings. What's so hard to understand in that? What happened to where are these Caribbean leaders who need to stand up, say to the U.S., Trump and Haig said, look, you can't do this shit. Go catch these people and get them to justice. You can't just be killing anybody down here. Where are these leaders at? Where? If you're out there fishing, be safe. Peace.
So guys, I hope you have watched that powerful and strong message from the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley. Mia Mottley, she has come out and called those corrupt and puppet leaders to stop being puppet from the West. And also, she wants all Caribbean leaders to come together and unite and work according to the will of the people. We have been seeing how the Western, they have been destabilizing some of the Caribbean countries, the country like Haiti. We have been seeing right now the Asian people, they are fighting their country simply because the Western countries, they went ahead and made their leaders to become a puppet, their leaders to be a sellout leaders, to a point whereby the Asian people, they were not benefiting some of the resources which they have in their country. Some of their beaches, they were being turned into private beaches. The people from the Western countries, when they were coming to Haitian, they went ahead and made some of their public beach to become a private beach. So this, it has led to a massive of numbers of Haitian people to come out and fight back their country. So this is what exactly these Western people that usually do to the black countries. And also, we have been seeing like the country in Jamaica, we have been seeing majority of Jamaicans that have been complaining their prime minister, he is becoming a sellout leader simply because we have been seeing how Jamaica have been complaining about the Chinese people coming in and taking over their country. They've been complaining how the foreigners, they are having big businesses, how some of their public beach, they are being turned into private beach simply because the foreigners, they are coming to their country, they are buying properties, they are doing business, they are becoming more successful and leaving the Jamaicans to be to still be poor. And that it is exactly what Mia Mottley, she's coming out and calling all those corrupt and puppet leaders to stop and work according to the will of the people. So guys, I want us to see who is really Mia Mottley, because Mia Mottley, as we speak right now, we know that she is a leader of the CARICOM. And also, one thing I really love about this woman, she always fights the right of the black people, whether the black people in America, the black Americans, black people in Caribbean and Africa. She always fight the rights of the black people across the continent. And also, one thing I really love about also Mia Mottley, she always called the unity between Africa and black people in the Caribbean. She wants to see all African becoming together and African uniting. And that she knows very well that if black people will unite this Western country, they will not treat us how they are treating us right now. And that's why she is calling unity amongst our black country, and also the leaders to wake up and work according to the will of the people. So let's see who Mia Mottley she is. Mia Mottley became the first woman to become Prime Minister of Barbados. You can see Mia Mottley, she became the first woman to become Prime Minister of Barbados. She's been active in politics for almost 30 years. First elected to Parliament in 1994. So you can see Mia Mottley, she was first elected to Parliament in 1994. Over the years, she held different high-level jobs in government education, justice, economy, even Attorney General and Deputy Prime Minister. In 2018, she led her party to a historical victory. They won all 30 seats in parliament, something never done before in Barbados. So Mia isn't a new kid. She experienced and she has deep roots in running a country. So Mia Mottley, she knows how to run a country. What she stands for, vision and leadership. Mia Mottley leadership isn't sorry guys, Mia Mottley leadership isn't just about winning election. She championed big issues that affect not only Barbados but many nations like it. She cares a lot about climate change and environmental justice. Her government is working to shift Barbados away from fossil fuel and towards renewable energy. Because a small island face big risk from sea level rise, storm, etc. She argues these countries, often less responsible for pollution, deserve global respect and support. On global stage, she pushed for fair treatment of small and vulnerable countries, including better international financial system, fair debt deals, and support for sustainability development. In a world where big power often dominates, she speaks up for the underdog, that powerful and rare. Why people around the world listen? Because her story, small highland, formerly colonized, now led by a woman, show real progress. It gives hope to people everywhere who face systematic injustice. Because she doesn't just talk, she acts. Her government plans for energy transition, climate resilience, and economic reforms show she is means business. Because she uses international platform to speak truth to power. When big countries ignore climate risk for small island, Mia raise her voice and demand accountability. What we can learn, especially from Africa, our side of the world. Since you run leadership matters. Having someone in the charge who understands history, inequality, and climate risk that change the game. So you can see Mia Mottley, she has been also fighting the countries or the Caribbean country, the small country in the Caribbean also, to be respected because of how they usually experience climate change. And also one thing that you need to learn about Mia Mottley, she usually speak out on the world stage. She usually use the chance whereby they are having so many leaders. She usually come out without no fear and speak out some of the challenges and the problem that his country and other Caribbean countries they are facing. One thing about Mia Mottley, she's not always talking about her country. She wants all the country in the Caribbean to be respected. She wants all the country in the Caribbean to also be taken as not as a small country, as a respectful country, because this country have been seeing how the climate, it has been affecting them, how the climate change, it has been affecting them. We have been seeing how the Hurricane Melissa came, it had destroyed some of the properties from some of the Caribbean country like Jamaicans. We saw how Hurricane Melissa destroyed the people's house. So Mia Mottley, she always come out and also try to call the nations, these other countries, the big country, the money country, also to support this country in the Caribbean. And that's why one thing I really love about Mia Mottley, she's not only talking about her country, but also she's including all the country in the Caribbean. And that's why majority of people from Caribbean, they usually love Mia Mottley. And also, Mia Mottley, the Western people, they knew Mia Mottley very well. She doesn't entertain nonsense, and also she doesn't want to see any Western country treating countries bad in the Caribbean. And that's why Mia Mottley, she's that fearless leader that the Western people, they are fearing. And she's the only woman in the Caribbean whereby she's being loved, and also majority of the leaders also from the Caribbean, they respect Mia Mottley. So kindly guys, you can also share your thoughts on the comment section. Tell me what you think about this episode, and I'll be back with more. I'll be reading out your thought on the comment section. Thank you so much guys. Subscribe if you haven't liked this video, share and also comment. See you on my next one guys. Bye bye.